Welcome to the SprintCare maintenance training video. We are on location here at OMM Soccer Complex in New York, which is a high-use soccer facility. My name is Ty Aiden from SprintCare. I'm the Director of Installations, and I'm going to be going through some of the basics of maintaining your SprintCare field so you can have years and years of use without any issue. So let's get started with the equipment. In front of us we have a gator or any type of similar tow vehicle. We also have a groomer, which is a drag brush with static broom heads. This is very typical, and this is the main requirement that SprintCare has on maintaining the fields. On the gator, we are looking to have a smooth tire, a turf type tire. And one thing to be careful of is the exhaust and where it's positioned. If you have an exhaust that's pointing straight down and close to the turf, you need to be careful that you don't leave it parked in one space too long. It could possibly melt the grass blade if that happens during a hot summer day. Otherwise, just make sure the machine is clean, it's not leaking any oil or any kind of fluids. And a golf cart or anything of that nature will work. This drag broom setup has static brooms, and it's connected to the gator with a tow hitch. The wheels on this is also static. They're manual. You raise them up, and the groomer rides flat on the grass with all of its weight involved. There are various units out on the market that you may have. Some have hydraulic wheels. Some are combo units where the groomer and the sweeper happen in one action, where you're grooming the field and also picking up debris. Some people will also have a separate sweeper type of unit that picks up debris on its own. So in that situation, you will first use the groomer, and then you will use the sweeper afterwards. The sweeper attachment could be a litter cat, could be a Parker sweeper, and these typically have rotating broom bristles that'll pick up debris. When you set those type of units up, you want to set them up so that the tip of the brush is just flickering the grass blades. You don't want it deep in the infill because you'll be pulling up a lot of infill into your machine. So that's the one set up here. If you have a groomer with a hydraulic wheel unit, you want to drop the brushes into the turf, but you want the wheels still to be touching the surface. And the best way to check that is lower your unit and try to spin the wheel with your hand. You should have a little bit of slip, but it should be contacting the turf surface. That's the perfect height where the wheels will be supporting a little bit of the weight of the groomer, but the brushes are still in the grass and doing the job that's required. So SprintCare recommends that you groom your field every 100 hours approximately, 80 to 100 hours of use. What that means in a real life situation is anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks intervals based on how much use is on the field. A heavy use field, you might be closer to 2 weeks. On a light use field, you might be closer to a month, once per month. During your grooming process, we recommend that you groom along the main seams of the field. So on a football soccer field, it will be going across the short way with the soccer box and the end line, or the football yard lines. You will basically start at one end of the field, work your way down, make a gradual turn, and come back down 10 yards away. And then you can rotate back to your original spot and move one line over, work your way up, past the part that you returned, hit the next spot, and come back down. Slowly you will work your way down the field, and then when you hit the section where you groomed already coming back down, you can jump to the next set of 10-yarders. So now let me take a moment to demonstrate the grooming and the pattern. Just note the process of grooming, the intention here is to fluff the grass blades and to screed out any uneven infill. You will clearly see the pattern. You'll see where was broomed and where wasn't. And then you can just follow that along as you go. Finish up with a perimeter pass to clean it up, and you're done. After you work your way all the way down the field, you're gonna have some little scallop marks around the perimeter where you were turning over and over again. So as a last grooming for the field, you're gonna take a couple perimeter passes and just clean up that scallop. And then that's basically one grooming. Now, if you keep a log during your maintenance period and kind of mark the dates, if you go counterclockwise one time, try to go clockwise the next time, just to mix up the direction that you're brushing the field. The fibers tend to lay left, right, forward, back. It's very random. So you want to kind of hit that from different angles. Continue that process. Keeping a log will help you keep track of which way you went and so forth, so you can, kind of switch that up as you go along. One tip that I'll give you, and that is super important for the longevity of the field, there are some isolated areas on the field that really need to be kept topped off with infill. On a soccer field like this one, it would be the penalty kicks, the corner kicks, and maybe the center dot of the field. Anywhere where they place the ball over and over and swipe at the grass at the same spot, they tend to displace the infill. And what happens is, it seems like there's almost a depression in the turf, but actually the infill has been displaced. And then eventually their cleats will start wearing on the backing. And that's when holes start to rupture. So if you keep those isolated areas topped off, it will increase the longevity and not have patching and so forth that's cosmetically not favorable. On a football field, the main concerns would be the extra point line or the X's for the kickoff. On a baseball field, the tough areas are the batter's boxes in front of the pitching mound and possibly the first base line around the bag. Prior to your grooming, if you have a 5-gallon bucket and have some of the infill that was left on your field, carry it with you every other grooming or so. And before you begin your grooming, stop in those isolated areas, drop a little bit of infill, shake it in with your fingers, and then groom through to smooth it out. And that's pretty much all that's required, and you'll keep those areas topped off and you'll protect your grass for the life of the product. So sweeping these fields are a second portion of your maintenance on Sprint Turf products. This is based on an as-need. If there's debris on the field, it could be tape, leaves, maybe some grass blades, and you feel the field is dirty, we can use the sweeper or a blower unit to clean up the debris. If the fields are clean, strictly stick to the grooming that we described. Sweeping is done with several different units. Like I described before, there is the Parker sweeper or the litter cat. If you don't have access to something like that, blowers work very well. Either push behind with the side chute or even a backpack will work. I would work with the wind at your back and blow the debris to one end, and then it can be collected and removed from the surface. Again, this is an as-needed basis. If you have debris, take care of that. You don't want to leave the leaves and so forth out there because they are organic. If they break down on the field, you could have possible sprouts of grass and weeds and so forth. So you want to keep the surface clean. The sweeping process or the grooming process on your field tends to build up a little bit of static on the grass. So when you groom the field, it's going to kind of look like the field is peppered. You'll see the little rubber particles sticking to the grass blades. This is completely normal. Do not be alarmed. If you want the field to look its best, do not groom right before the event. Do it the day before so that static gets a chance to disappear and the infill gets a chance to fall back into the turf. That also is useful because as you drive, you can see where you groomed and where you didn't. So that's your guide to follow your lines. Try to groom these fields in the summertime, either early in the morning or late in the afternoon. You don't want to be out here when the sun is at its peak and the temperatures on the turf are warm. The fiber gets a little soft and that can promote some excessive wear. So if you do it in the morning when it's cool, it's better. A little bit of dew on the ground is not going to affect anything. It actually helps to cut down the static, a little bit of dew. But the product can't be wet. If it's super wet, you'll get more of the clumping of the infill, and that's not going to be favorable for you. There are a few problems on the field that you will see repetitively, and the best way to avoid some of them is to post signs, SprintTurf Supply signs, make sure they're up. Gum chewing is a big issue on the field. What they do is they drop it into the turf and it winds up sticking. That needs to be removed. Sunflower seeds and things of that nature are small particles and very hard to remove. You know, the gum chewing, if you have gum in the field, the easiest way to get rid of that is to freeze the gum and chip away at it. This is basically a plastic product and things don't like to stick to it. But, you know, again, you have to freeze it. There's sports freeze sprays that you can use, or you could even take a bag of ice and set it on the gum for 15 minutes or so, get it frozen, and chip at it until it chips off. Pick up the debris. You may have to do that a couple times until you get it completely off, but that's the simplest way to deal with the gum. If you have biotype incidents, maybe someone vomits or has a cut and bleeds on the field and you're worried about disinfecting, the best way to deal with that is to clean off the debris, rinse it with some water, and then take a local disinfectant. 1 part white vinegar to 8 parts water works very well. It's safe. You probably have a host of disinfectant sprays that you use regularly. Make sure, for color fastness, don't use Clorox, things like that could possibly discolor the surface. But again, treat the local area, and that's pretty much all that's required. Once you have a field, a synthetic turf field, people try to sell many things to you, and SprintTurf doesn't require any of them. If it's something you're interested in doing, that's fine. Some people want to disinfect the surface on a regular basis. Not required. In actuality, they've done multiple tests on these surfaces, and in an outdoor situation, the fields do get kind of warm. They're pretty much mostly synthetic. Bacteria does not survive in this kind of environment. But if that's something that you are interested in doing, there are products on the market. And I'll mention Pioneer in Pennsylvania, Pioneer Paint. They have disinfectant products, they have paint products, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Basically what's involved is putting a little bit of that solution in water and using sprayers and just spraying the field. Many SprintTurf fields come pre-striped with various sports that you may be using. In some applications, due to the complication of the line work, some people choose to paint some of them. If you are interested in painting, again, Pioneer Paint in Pennsylvania has various grades of paint, ranging from chalk, which is very temporary. Any rain, it's going to wash right away, to permanent, which means you get pretty much a season out of one painting. When you're painting these surfaces, the main concern here is to set it up correctly the first time and get the lines nice and straight. Down the road, if you're using a permanent type paint, you will always see the shadow line of that paint stripe, so you can follow it over and over again. Make sure it's correct the first time. When you're painting, you do not want to douse the surface with paint, because what will happen is you'll coagulate all the infill in that area and it will become hard, similar to your track materials. So you just want to move a little bit quickly and just apply enough paint to cover the grass blades. Basically coat the grass blades. Snow removal is another item that people deal with. This is something that is not to be taken lightly. It's not something that's done the last minute. It has to be prepared for, and the equipment has to be set up correctly. I'm going to go through very briefly some snow removal information, techniques, so forth. But if you're interested in snow removal, I would call the office. At the end of this video, we'll post the customer service number, and I would call and get more information and talk to somebody, just so you're not doing anything that's going to damage your surface. It is tricky. Snow needs to be removed in intervals. You can't wait till you have 6, 8, 10 inches of snow on the ground, because there's no way you can push snow from here across such a large surface without spinning tires, things like that. You also have to have protection on your equipment. In other words, if you're using a snow blade, they put protection, either rubber on the bottom of the blade. Sometimes they're putting PVC inserts to have a smooth surface on the bottom. Last thing you want to do is catch some of the turf and create a tear or something of that nature. The other problem with snow removal is that a lot of times as you're plowing the snow, you're going to take some of the infill with it. And wherever you create the pile, when that snow melts off, you're going to deposit all that infill, and you'll notice when it finally melts off that you'll have black streaks where the piles were. And the issue there is, how do you get that infill back out to the middle of the field where it belongs? So these are all heavy considerations when you're plowing. Again, if you are interested, or if you have a need to plow, contact our office and we can give you in-depth guidance so that there's no issues. Many of our customers use their SprintCare fields for events such as graduation ceremonies. The main concern when you're setting up for these events are weight distribution. Now, if you were to take a heavy object and put it on the turf is very durable, but the stone underneath can be impressioned. Okay, so that's your main concern. If you need to drive out on your field with something heavy, beyond what we're talking about, these light machines, the best way to do that is to lay down some 3/4 inch plywood. If you lay down a few sheets and drive across, and you can rotate the plywoods out as you get out to where you need to get. If you're going to set up some sort of a stage or something like that that's heavy and it has some legs, distribute that weight by either laying down some plywood or some 2x10 planks. Make sure you're not putting any dents in the stone underneath. The only way to fix that, unfortunately, is to cut your turf and make the repair, and that's something you want to avoid. So really pay attention to weight distribution and not making indentations into your turf. Setting up chairs and so forth is no problem out here. Just make sure the chairs have their rubber feet on them. Make sure there's no sharp surface on the bottom that could possibly make a cut or any damage to the turf. The key to setting up events is post-grooming. You don't want to have these items on the grass for too long. So set up a day or two before the event, have your event, remove them quickly, and come through with your groomer. Any dimples, any flat turf you may have from those objects sitting there, groom through, get them fluffed back up, and good as new. The last thing I want to talk about are minor repairs on the field. What we consider a minor repair is a corner of an inlay coming up, or something 3 to 6 inches long that can be easily fixed on site. Anything beyond that, call up SprintCare, the customer care number, and we'll come out and take care of it. This is the procedure for taking care of those minor repairs. We have such an example here where the corner of their M logo has curled up a little bit, and what happens is underneath, the infill has gotten underneath and it's curling this piece up. So I'm going to take a blower and I'm going to blow out this debris so it's clean. I'm going to apply a adhesive, and this is readily available in the Home Depot, Loctite PL 3X. It's an outdoor product and it sticks very well with synthetic turf. So I'll clean it underneath. I'll apply a bead of glue that's about the size of my pointer finger around the edges. I'll pump the inlay a couple times to make sure I have good contact on both surfaces. I'll apply some sort of weight, a brick, a rock, and let it set up for a couple hours. Once it's hardened, I will take a little bit of infill, top off the area, and it's done. In summary, SprintCare doesn't have a lot of requirements to keep these fields looking good. Follow the basics tips that I've laid out in this video, and your field will last for a long time. Keep in mind that different turf companies have different objectives, and the turf products are set up differently. So don't confuse with what another manufacturer may try and have you do versus what SprintCare has you do. These are the basics. Keep the grooming up and keep the fields clean, and you shouldn't have any problem. Again, if there's any specific questions you may have, feel free to call our customer service number, and we can direct you further. If necessary, we could have someone even come out to the site and guide you through some particular matter that you're having trouble with. Good luck with the field. Thank you.